What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel and another episode of our Scrapyard 911 rebuild. We're getting so close to having this car done, and in today's episode we're going to take a few big leaps towards getting it ready to be back on the road. Now, the first thing I want to do, because we've had some runtime, is go ahead and check a few things out over on this engine. Last time that I actually ran this, I did notice a slight tick or knock. So I wanted to see what we had going on there. I don't think it was bottom end, and I went ahead and popped the valve covers, and let me show you what we found. I did pull the oil filter off, went ahead and split it open, checked it out, and it's actually pretty nice and clean in there, so we don't have any bearing material or anything. Drained all the oil, everything looked pretty good. Now let me mention really quick too, that slight noise that I heard, that tick or knock, that kind of sound that it had, as soon as I gave it any RPM, even 50 RPM, as soon as I gave it any kind of throttle, it went completely away. It was not like a bottom end or a rod knock or anything, just something on the top end. I went ahead and talked to a few people, one specifically my friend Chris, and he told me to take a look at the rocker arms. And they all look pretty good here. What we're actually looking at in here, you have this little rocker arm assembly and you have the little rod that holds it. Now with that, it has cones on either end and it tightens down and holds it into place. So what'll actually happen, especially with the appearance of this one being fairly recently rebuilt, is you're supposed to check these at 1,000 miles and go ahead and retorque them and everything, and I don't think they ever were. This one right here, see how it's actually walked out. So I think that's where our noise was actually coming from there, is because those have actually walked over on a couple of these. And at the same time too, let's go ahead. I've got our valve adjustment tool, check and adjust all the valves on this thing. Okay, so that's pretty neat. So it's actually just a machine fit. What it does is when you torque it down to that 19 foot-pounds, on used ones you torque these to 19 foot-pounds, or if you can't get a torque wrench in there, they say just to snug it up as much as you possibly can by hand with just the short 5mm Allen wrench. And just the tight machine fit and the flare of this actually tightens it up in there. Nice, and I can just push it back over by hand. The nice thing is none of these are leaking. They don't look crazy flaky or anything. Apparently once these are wallered out, they'll just walk all over the place. But we will keep an eye on everything. I'll probably check this again in a few hundred miles. With all of those checked, nice and tight, we can go ahead and move to the valve adjustment. First thing you want to do is roll this thing to top dead center on the #1 compression stroke. And the way you do that is with this motor, always spin it clockwise until you get to start coming up on the #1 position where the rotor fires right there. And as you do that, you'll come around to something that says Z1. Once both of those line up the way they're supposed to, you're on top dead center of the compression stroke. And then we can start adjusting valves on #1, which is this cylinder right here. We'll need our 13mm wrench and our flathead screwdriver so we can run it in and out. We've got our little checker here, which is 4/1000ths. And what you'll do is go in between, make sure you oiled up, and just be real careful don't fight it in there. You can take and rock your rocker down towards the cam as hard as you can. And it kind of goes in with ease. Doesn't seem loose, doesn't seem tight, so I don't think we even need to adjust this one because it feels pretty good. Now the intake valve I've gone to check and I cannot get it to fit in there. It is pretty darn snug. So let's go ahead and back it off just a little bit. We get it all nice and snug. We have nice movement down, back in, but we are not too loose and not too tight. Now we'll rock 120 degrees to the next mark right there. And we can check cylinder #6. 6 looked pretty good. Intake may have been a little on the tight side, but really not bad. Nothing loose, nothing crazy. So that's good. Now we'll turn it another 120 for 2. After that, we'll turn it again. We'll get back at that Z1, and it'll be #4. Again for #3, and then #5. And that'll be all of our cylinders. So let me knock this out really quick and make sure all of our valve adjustments look pretty good. Now with it all put back together, everything on, torqued down, new gaskets, fresh oil and oil filter, we got to at least get one more cold start with those wide open headers. It is about 30 degrees right now. We'll see how she likes it this morning. I don't know that she will. And then I'll show you what we got in store for that exhaust. Now I wanted to build my own exhaust and go a little bit out of the way and do a GT3 style center dump, and that's still a possibility in the future, but I looked around at cost of putting that together, and everything for this can get quite expensive. You all know that. Check these out though. This is a Porsche, I don't know how to even say it, performance, I guess you could call it a race. This was actually used on a little race car. Got it from a gentleman named Rick off of eBay, 200 bucks. Check the condition out on this thing, and it's great shape, super honest listing, super honest gentleman, and for 200 bucks I don't think we can beat it. Let's get it on this car and see how it sounds. Thing gonna hit every wire. Now we do have to say, I think this muffler probably would have worked just fine if it had the original style headers that were on it, or manifolds that were on it. But because of those inexpensive, what, $450 headers, they don't quite fit right. I think the angle's just not quite right, but they are really pretty being stainless. They were pretty darn cheap, and I think we're gonna use them. They sound nice, and I think we're gonna make this thing work. So we're just gonna cut it off where we can take it, tilt it down a little bit. It'll take us 15 minutes to throw weld back in it, and it'll be good to go. Be custom fit the car and not usable on anything else, but that's what you got to do. I cannot complain one bit with that fitment. Really like the direction, how the tip comes out. A lot of room up in here. Everything's, maybe that's what's hitting. I don't know what that is. It harmonics through. Holy moly, does that thing run rich. Good grief. So I figured out that rattling noise. Will you hold that door real quick, please, Mom? Thank you. Well, there you go. I feel kind of dumb about that, but hey, it's good to know. It's because we don't have those seals yet in that door and it's latched in there. Also, I think that's that funny little tiny rattle sound we sound right there at idle, because it is still there, but it's just the door rattling. That's why when you give it any RPM or anything, it sounds perfectly fine. It makes no noise whatsoever. Good, smooth, happy, healthy. That's just the way we want it. With our exhaust done and this thing nearly ready to hit the road, we need something back here, and that is tail lights. So let's go ahead and get those taken care of so we don't get hit as soon as we take it out. This here is what we were working with. Pretty pitiful, but we did get a set from our friend John. These are not perfect condition, but far nicer. That will do us pretty well. One thing here you notice, that lens is just disintegrated. The little socket is missing. This socket is busted. So what we're gonna actually do, because these are pretty nice, we'll use this socket, which we'll have to remove from this housing, and then we'll JB weld this back in place. With those taillights taken care of, what goes in between it? This panel right here, the one that was on the car was pretty rough. These were busted out, all cracked up. This one's pretty nice. It's not perfect by any means. This again was from John. I think we got about $75. These are anywhere between $500 and $900 for a replacement. And so we're gonna try to make this one pretty nice. You can see one of the little brackets here is actually broken off. All the reflective paint on the inside is broken off, is kind of chipped away and gone as well. So let's see what we can do with this. Here is another one of these that we can actually epoxy on and use. This is off of our old one. It had broken off as well, so that'll work out nicely. I'm gonna very carefully see if we can get these popped off as well. There we go. These are already, as you can see, kind of on the loose side. We'll make sure this stays right there so it can go right back in spot. And the reason is so we can get paint underneath where it's all chipped away as well. What I'm going to attempt here, and I have no idea if it's going to work, is to use this metallic silver paint. And this is a reflective paint surface. And it's all I can think of to try to do something with this here. Before we work on the front, let's go ahead and actually get these epoxied back on. With the back side looking really nice, these epoxied back on, we can start focusing on this front side. First we'll 3000 grit, wet sand it, and then we'll buff it and polish it just like we would a body panel. Is it perfect? No. Is it pretty darn slick? Oh yeah. As far as getting it mounted here, we have all new little push-on clips here. No point trying to get a camera up here because you're not going to see anyways. Oh, because I can't. Now what are we missing back here? This is a day I've been waiting for. I am so flippin' excited to be able to do this. We have this bracket here. I think you know what this is. Bracket. South Carolina license plate. Yes, this car is titled, registered, insured, tagged. The blue looks pretty good on there. Ooh, we're getting close. With the back end of the car there getting really close, almost ready to take this thing out on the road for real, we can start moving our way forward here. Not only do we need to prepare ourselves physically by getting a few things put in here, but mentally, to get this rear window put in. I'm not incredibly excited. I am. I want to see it back in the car. I am really flipping scared to do it. It is what it is, right? So let's work on getting this back area kind of prepared, getting our trim pieces put on so we can get that back window put in there. Now, I don't know if you'll remember here, these trim pieces, these ornamental pieces that goes right here underneath the window. Some people delete them. I think it's part of the car. It needs to be there. Not black, but actually the original chrome. Now, the biggest issue with that, this car only had one of them, and the one that it did have was really, really bad shape, especially right here on the front where they clip in was just absolutely pitiful and completely bent up. Not only that, it was really pitted. I guess it was a pot metal material like they used to use back in the day, and just looked absolutely pitiful. So we had to order a new set of those. There's a few things that I've had to order recently for this car that have taken a while to come in, kind of back order parts. And they've been a little on the expensive side. These ornamental pieces specifically were $320 a piece or $300 a piece. That hurt, but it's part of it. We have to have it. It has to go on there. These are Porsche factory parts from Pelican. Now, the one thing that you will notice, they have been designed a little bit differently. So they still mount on here, but on the front, instead of just being clipped on, it actually has a little screw. So we need to drill and clean up a little hole there where we can screw it on the front. And I believe the reason they did that, that was kind of a updated thing there, because that was probably common. I know, just walking past it, my shirt grabbed it a lot, and if it wasn't clipped in well, it popped it right up and bent it all to snot. So I'm just barely starting these screws. And that so we can slide this little gasket up underneath it. Before I get that committed, I want to get this Targa bar in place, even though I have to rework the mounting hardware on it. I want to make sure it's in the right spot so when we drill, we know we're in and out exactly where we need to be. Now, instead of putting back the horsehair, which I may use a piece of this or two, this one's actually still good shape. The rest of it was rotted away. I got some of this self-adhesive weather strip tape, and it's the nice foam stuff. It'll last for a long time, and this will work great on here. I used this stuff on the front tank, if y'all remember. I don't know why I thought it was double-sided adhesive, because it's not. Now, I think because of the complexity of everything going on here, I want to wait to drill this out and screw it on until we've got that rear window in, that Targa bar cover put on, and everything kind of assembled and in place, just so we don't happen to make a wrong drill there, because that would really not be good. So the next step is going to be to put this windshield, this rear window in. I'm going to wait until Dad gets off work to do that, but there is a ton of stuff we can do in the meantime, and that's going to include some insulation or sound deadening. There we go. We've got a good majority of it put in there. It's really coming along nicely. I will say one thing, when you start pushing it down in there, make sure you've got it exactly in the right spot, especially once you start really working it in, because once it adheres, it's adhered. I mean, this stuff really ties down. There we go. There's that pretty green tinted original glass, date coated, all that terrible tint pulled off the thing. Probably spent about an hour and a half, Dad and I getting that thing knocked out and ready to go, but it's going to be worth it because that thing is gorgeous. Pretty easy to install that seal, don't you think? Because that is the easiest part of this entire thing. And then we can go ahead and pack our rope. You're just gonna put it in the edge that actually, the lip of the car, so when you pull that rope out, it folds this over the lip. With our rope installed all the way around, we can go ahead and get our aluminum clipped on. Where's my midpoint? Trim's on, other than these little end pieces, which I think are coming in the mail tonight, but this window's going in and we'll deal with that later. Now we just soak everything with soapy water.
They're gonna do that. So what's this supposed to be doing here? Is this supposed to be? Push down.
Whew. Oh my goodness. Whew. What you think, Dad?
Yep.
Wow, what a good feeling.
Look like a fishbowl.
That's what we want. Real pretty green fishbowl. The glass itself has a lot of scuffs and scratches on it. I don't know if you can tell. I'll probably try to wet sand it and we'll end up polishing it down the road, but fine, it's starting to look like a car again. Well, that is gonna wrap it up. Wow, are we getting so close. It's finally starting to look like a car again. Not only a car, but a Porsche 911 Targa. That big rear glass just makes all the difference in the world in how this car really shapes together. And I think the non-tinted factory greenish window just looks incredible back in this car, and it's really tying everything together. By the time you guys are watching this, we have already gone through, got the dash redone, got the windshield in, and probably quite a few other things, because we are trying to get this car knocked out for the spring, summer, so we can start taking it some vents and enjoying it. It's ready to hit the road almost, and we can't wait. I really hope you're enjoying this car and its budget transformation back into the car that it originally was supposed to be. If you are and you haven't already, be sure to the subscribe button, notification bell. And if you've been following along with us, especially from the beginning, thank you all so incredibly much. We couldn't be doing what we're doing, saving cars like these, without all of you. But that's gonna wrap it up. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.